In this video, we are going to discuss AEW signing a former WWE superstar because, yes, AEW has announced a new signing today. Also, in addition to that, Dave Meltzer had some very interesting comments about Keith Lee and his weight, but Booker T responds and has some major praise for Keith Lee's debut. And we also got to talk about WWE having some interest in a current AEW title holder. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click subscribe and ring that bell. This way you can get notified every single time a new video goes up. Every single day, 7 days a week, I'm keeping you updated. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to support the channel. So let's talk about Keith Lee and his AEW debut. I've already done a recap. If you guys haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. In fact, we even did a live post show, and I thought it was great. You know, sometimes I criticize AEW for all of these signings and whatnot, but honestly, Keith Lee looked like Keith Lee. No stupid Bearcat gimmick, no character, just flawless debut. Honestly, it was one of my favorite debuts in a while, probably since Bryan Danielson, honestly, just because I felt like it was so impactful. You can clearly see the difference between Keith Lee and WWE Monday Night Raw versus Keith Lee and AEW, and that was just night one. We'll see how the rest of it goes. Obviously, it might be too early to speak. But nonetheless, Booker T was kind of upset with Dave Meltzer because Dave Meltzer was talking some shit, apparently, about Keith Lee and his weight. Nonetheless, Booker T, he says some cool stuff about this. Let's read these comments. He goes, Keith Lee coming back, shorts, short tights, no shirt. You can tell he was feeling himself just a little bit. With his time off, he probably had a lot of training sessions in the gym getting ready for this debut, which I highly agree. He looked very, very good in the ring. He actually was quite exceptional as far as conditioning coming back after this long of a layoff, especially with the big moves over the top. Keith Lee could be that player. Immediately, he goes to the top of the food chain as being one of those guys that could be a player from AEW. From an AEW world title perspective, put him in the mix with anybody, and I think you got something there, as well as Keith Lee winning the AEW Championship for the first time. Can you imagine how big that would be? And look, I've said this before. You can't just bring people in with the intention of not actually using them. You got to bring them in and put them in a major storyline. Right now, AEW looks to be working around Adam Cole versus Hangman Page, plus MJF could potentially be in the title mix. But if I am AEW, I would immediately get Keith Lee in the title picture. Whether it's the world title or not, I don't really care. I think AEW does a fantastic job of building up the TNT Championship and everything that it does. So honestly, Keith Lee coming in and taking over Sammy Guevara's title reign would be something I would be in favor of. Guys, Jade Cargill had an opportunity to go to WWE, and she actually chose not to do that. Andrew Zarian from the Mat Men podcast came out and discussed something very interesting. In fact, he goes on to say, I know for a fact that people in WWE are interested in her now, and they have gotten to see what she can do on TV. Now, keep in mind, in the past, WWE actually questioned Jade Cargill's future in wrestling and as to whether or not it was something that she'd be able to do, and Jade Cargill decided to go to AEW. Now, interestingly enough, I've always felt like the look of Jade Cargill is everything WWE would want. And I understand that her wrestling skills may not be up to par as some of these other women in AEW, but I've always said that in wrestling, I prefer to have a mixture of characters and good wrestlers. And I think as she gets more experience, she'll actually become a better wrestler. Now, the real question is, what type of money would WWE offer her? Because Jade Cargill is, I mean, she's the TBS champion. She's what, 27 or 28-0 in AEW? I mean, at this point, she is clearly a big deal for the company. WWE might have to fork over a lot of money, but also if you're WWE, one thing that you have to keep in mind, you have Charlotte Flair. You have Becky Lynch, you have Bayley, you have these women that you've been building around, but you haven't really built around Doudrop or Liv Morgan or Naomi. I mean, there's quite a few names that really don't have anything meaningful at the top of the card. If WWE were to bring in Jade Cargill, that has to change. Like, you can't bring in Jade Cargill just to be fighting with Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH in a meaningless storyline. So my point is, it's cool that WWE's interested. It's what I expected from WWE. I don't see it happening, but if it did happen, I'm sure it's going to cost WWE a lot of money, depending on when they go for it, and also depending on the contract and stuff. But guys, we have to talk a little bit more about AEW today. We got to talk about a new signing, and I've seen this coming. I think we've all seen this coming. But if you guys didn't know, AEW has officially announced a new signing. Former WWE Superstar AQA is now in AEW. Now, she just made her debut against Jade Cargill on Dynamite. And it was interesting. A lot of people didn't know who she was when she made her debut. And, you know, Tony Khan tried to hype up this match before the show. Tony Khan saying she was a big free agent. A lot of people don't even know that she was in WWE, but she wasn't used in WWE, which is really shocking. A lot of people also don't know that she was trained by Booker T and Reality of Wrestling. Now, the reason why I knew of AQA is because her shooting star press is absolutely phenomenal. There were so many clips circulating on the internet before she signed to WWE, and it was very clear that WWE had a really good talent. Now, there's a lot of reasons why WWE didn't actually get to use her, and there was just so much more to the puzzle. And look, trying to sit there and figure it out, it doesn't make sense. But AEW made the decision to bring her in. Now, I've been saying that AEW needs to bring more women into their women's division. And I also believe AEW needs to bring in Ember Moon, Taya Valkyrie, right? Those are just two of the names. I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting about. Mia Yim, right? They got to build that women's division. They got something, but they got to do more to it. I don't know what their plans are for AQA. But because she wasn't overexposed in WWE, this is an opportunity for AEW to make a big splash with their women's division. But I do think it is essential that they still bring in Taya Valkyrie. I think you bring in Ember Moon or Athena, right? And then you got to bring in Mia Yim. I think those three for sure you have to bring in. And, you know, people, they make this argument. Oh, Ango, you said they're signing too many people. I absolutely do believe they're signing people. But look what's happened with AEW. Half their women's division can't even travel to AEW because of the travel restrictions because of COVID. So, you know, if you're going to bring in people for your women's division. You absolutely need it. But, you know, it's going to always be a big debate. People are always going to debate this. People not being used, people being used, some people not being extended with their contracts, some people being per appearance. I mean, look, there's so many different ways you can argue this scenario. But if I'm AEW, I look at this as an opportunity to put AQA in some meaningful stuff. And truth be told, I'm going to be completely honest here. I'm going to be completely honest. If you're signing her just to put her on AEW Dark, I don't know if that makes sense to me. It was very clear she knew what she was doing in that ring. The only way she's going to get better is by being on TV. And who better to be in a feud with right now than Serena Deeb? Just saying. The possibilities are endless, but it's up to them to do it. But yeah, AEW has signed another new signing. It's been introduced today. Tony Khan made it official. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.